So everybody, as you probably have seen by now, a video went viral of two protesters interrupting an AOC town hall meeting where they confronted her about her support for Ukraine war funding. We're going to play a small portion of that video right now just in case you haven't seen it. And then we got some beef to serve up.
Woman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks, okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party.
All right, so we get it. If you haven't seen the whole thing, it's everywhere. We did a video on it. You can go watch that. So these two guys stood up and said, hey, Tulsi left the Democratic Party, calling them a bunch of woke war hawks. Where are you? Where is the squad on this, right? Aren't progressive socialists supposed to be anti-war? Why have you had nothing to say? In fact, worse than nothing to say. You voted for all of these billions of dollars of weapons packages to Ukraine, which is only pouring gasoline on the fire that is the Russia-Ukraine war, which can only end in Russia calling it quits and going home, or, God forbid, it escalates to the point where even Joe Biden himself admitted behind closed doors last week that we are closer to nuclear Armageddon than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's their point. Let's hear what progressive media entrepreneur Cenk Uygur had to say about this. He tweets out, anyone who believes these schmucks who disrupted an AOC event are peace activists is so unbelievably gullible.
Kind of like the people who donated to your mission to hire investigative reporters.
Yeah, right.
Like that. Like
yeah,
that.
Exactly. If you believe AOC supports nuclear war because Putin threatened one and she's opposed to him, you have serious cognitive disabilities. Those guys were 100% fake. Okay, now this is Vanguard shit. This is Vanguard level juvenile shit. They're basically saying if you believe AOC supports nuclear war because Putin threatened one and she's opposed to him, it's all about, do you support Putin? Do you not support Putin? Do you support AOC or not? And if you're not for AOC and she's not for Putin, it must mean you're for Putin. It's that kind of just juvenile logic. Then he calls them 100% fake. So let's see what he means by that. Tim Pool tweets out conspiracy theorists, right? Tries to troll him a bit. And then Cenk comes back. One of them has admitted he voted for Trump twice. He's speaking about Jose Vega, who's the second guy in that video. They said they're for right-wing Tulsi Gabbard, who is now supporting insane Trump candidates. They're right-wing trolls pretending to be progressive. Are you part of the racket? Are you going to lie to your audience about it? What, they're fake progressives because they said they believed in AOC? Is that what he's latching on to? The fact that they claim to be like disaffected former AOC supporters? This guy Jose Vega did admit that he did vote for Donald Trump twice. Now they're saying they support Tulsi Gabbard. You know what? Who cares? Who cares? Even if they are posing as former AOC stands turned Tulsi stands, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? This is the kind of shit you're going to sort out in a nuclear wasteland. You're going to have guys like Cenk Uygur say, what? So what? So you'd rather have Trump? You'd rather have Trump or you like Trump? Fake progressive, fake progressive? What difference does it make what these guys' politics are? All that should matter in the context of this video is what they say on the video. And the merits of what they say in this video here are unimpeachable, in my opinion, and they ought to be unimpeachable in the opinion of any serious anti-war news personality. And I'm sorry, maybe it's because I came of age during the Iraq War, but anti-war politics is indispensable to any left platform. If you're not anti-war, then what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Well, the guy gave away his Trump support just by the way he said China. You could tell he was a Trump supporter. China!
Yeah,
China! You're starting a nuclear war with China. So right there, I knew he was a Trump supporter. That was no shock to me. The question is, if you were anti-war, well, who would you have voted for? Hillary Clinton? I mean, Donald Trump was your best shot at avoiding where we are now. If anything, history has proven that if that was your priority, that was a very sensible vote to vote for Donald Trump twice. If that was your absolute priority, setting everything else aside, that you didn't want to get into a shooting war with Russia, well, yeah, Trump was your best bet. Trump was your best bet because Tulsi's not wrong. She's just, yes, is she slanting things in a way that it seems like she's trying to set up or align herself for some kind of political run? Yeah, absolutely, because everything that she said about the Democrats could be said about the Republicans. Now, obviously, she's leaving the Democratic Party, so that's relevant. But yeah, that's true. She is going out and campaigning for Republicans that are inconsistent, whose beliefs are inconsistent with the statement that she made exiting the Democratic Party. So sure, I will grant you that. But at the same time, Tulsi has been very consistently anti-war throughout her career. She has not wavered at all on that position. So of course, anti-war people, if these people are really anti-war, that's their main position. Voting for Donald Trump, supporting AOC, what we thought she was, and supporting Gabbard, there's no contradiction in those things.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And even if there was a contradiction in those things, even if these guys are hypocrites, and even if Tulsi is a hypocrite, why are we litigating Tulsi Gabbard in this conversation?
Right.
Why are we litigating their support for Tulsi Gabbard? Why are their political backgrounds on trial here? What they said to AOC's face made perfect sense. Period.
Well,
Period.
and also, this
is what the Vanguard boys do. This is what they do. They went to Aaron Mate and they said, well, you like Jackson Hinkle, who seems to like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who likes Donald Trump. Therefore, you're a coddler for the right wing. It's the same exact thing here. It's the same exact thing here. These guys make a statement, and rather than evaluate the merits of the statement, you call them fake progressives.
Right.
Because they're not actually...
He's not in the club.
Right, they're not in the club. That's really what it is.
They're not one of us.
They're not one of us.
They say.
He's just signaling they're not one of us, therefore their opinions are invalid without actually addressing the substance of what they're saying. What you are doing here is very obvious. I don't have to explain this to you or this audience at this point. I hope not, at least. And pardon the use of words here, but every day this Russia-Ukraine war goes on, you are playing, like I said, excuse the word choice here, Russian roulette with nuclear war. Every day this goes on is a risk of a nuclear escalation. And so the only way to protect against that is to de-escalate. It has nothing to do with pro-Putin, anti-Putin. Oh, you support AOC. AOC is against Putin, so you have to be for AOC to be against Putin. Again, this is child logic. This is children's logic here. This is a guy who's built.
It didn't start here with AOC. You might as well just vote for Nancy Pelosi for all that AOC varies from the Democratic Party establishment in her votes. Here and there, she'll take a symbolic protest vote when they let her, when it doesn't matter, when it's going to pass anyway. But she's useless. Why? What is the point? And this is something I watched today from Tucker Carlson, who once again is one of the only people, perhaps the only person in mainstream media who's really speaking out about the war in Ukraine. And he talked about this with AOC, and he made a great point, which should be the left point. He said, I'm sure I don't agree probably with the people who protested her about anything else other than this. I'm sure I know I don't agree with AOC on anything, but the purpose of people like her and having people like her around is for, in this moment, for them to stand up against the collective opinion. That's the purpose of having this progressive socialist in the House. So that at this moment, when this war is going on, she is going to be the voice that is going to stand up and say, what the hell are we doing? And she's not doing it. Now, it is pathetic that you need to hear that from Tucker Carlson. And you're not going to hear that. Forget about MSNBC, CNN, from Cenk Uygur, from Kyle Kulinski, from David Dole, from these people who are supposed to be alternative left media personalities. That Tucker Carlson can identify what the problem is with AOC not having stood up against this war. They can't identify it, but Tucker Carlson can. That's exactly it. We didn't vote for her to vote with Nancy Pelosi on these kinds of issues. The whole purpose of backing someone like AOC is so that at moments like this, there's a voice of reason, and she's not doing it. So what purpose does she serve? To be an Instagram influencer? That's what it feels like at this point. It's like we elected her to be an Instagram influencer.
And look, if Tucker can say that about AOC, that, hey, as much as I might disagree with AOC on 90% of issues, one potential silver lining of having her in the House from his point of view is that in moments like these, we will have some common ground. Well, I could say the same thing about J.D. Vance, quite frankly. We did a whole segment on that, about J.D. Vance is talking sense about Ukraine. Tim Ryan isn't. So if J.D. Vance wins, it's not that I agree with J.D. Vance on everything. In fact, I disagree with him on almost everything. But is there value to having one or two voices of reason in the Senate on this issue? Yes, there is value in that. And if it comes from the Republican side, so be it. That's the other thing. That's the other thing, Cenk. If you don't want us retweeting and making videos praising these, whatever Trump voting Tulsi stands, as you say they are, and fine, let's say they are. I will grant you that 100%. This guy calls himself one of the Lyndon LaRouche people, this Jose Vega guy. It's okay, let's say he's a little fucking, bats in the belfry there.
Little bots, little fuck.
Right. Let's say he's
in there.
Right. Right. Let's say he's a little nuts. That doesn't change anything about that video. That doesn't change the merits of what he said in that video one iota. And if you're worried about that, Cenk, then why don't you take some of that Jeffrey Katzenberg money, right? Take some of your subscriber money, use some of your contacts. You got some contacts on Capitol Hill. Why don't you reach out to AOC or Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or Ro Khanna or Bernie Sanders? You've interviewed many of these people. I'm sure you can get in touch with them and say, hey, guess what? Guess what? Progressives are starting to look to right-wingers for anti-war narratives, so maybe one of you useless motherfuckers should speak up and say this shit so that lefties stop quoting right-wingers. I'd rather praise Bernie for saying something like that than a Tulsi Stan or a Trump voter. But they're not saying it.
I'm doing my Cenk. Of course!
Right. But they're not saying it. So what do you want us to do?
We would love it if we could stand up here with pride. Shit. We did it in our other segment. I showed you, man. I helped to get AOC elected in my own tiny volunteer way when nobody knew who she was. I would love to be taking a victory lap right now. Oh, I'm so glad that I did that. Look at what she's doing. Look at the stand that she's taking. Bernie, it breaks.
There he is again.
There I am.
There's Russell with the hat, with the AOC mailer card that he's passing around. That is in Queens, 2018.
Yep, that's an.
So we'd love to be taking a victory lap saying, look at these progressive socialists who we helped get in there speaking truth to power on the Russia-Ukraine war. But they're not doing it. Right. They're not doing it. So what do you expect us to do? Just shut the fuck up about it like you do? Tim Ryan, J.D. Vance, have a showdown about that, and you choose to completely ignore that segment because it doesn't suit the narrative that Democrats are better than the GOPers. So you fucking cover the gay marriage part of the debate so you can throw some red meat to your idiot viewers.
That's it.
I mean, that's not how this works here. This is too important an issue to play politics in that way.
Eventually, these old people who watch MSNBC are going to die. And, they're going to hire the Young Turks. They're going to hire Kyle. They're going to hire these people. They're the next generation of corporate left media. I said that back in 2016. These people are all going to wind up in the corporate media. That's what, and it looks like they're looking ahead to that.
Please clap.